This next session is going to explore one of the most impactful humanitarian applications of Bitcoin. The talk is titled How Bitcoin is Helping Palestinians in Gaza Survive. Our speaker, Fadi Elsalameen, is an adjunct senior fellow at the Bitcoin Policy Institute, an active contributor to the Human Rights Foundation, and a key figure at the AMSEC project. I think he looks ready, he looks fired up. Are you guys ready for Fadi? Our penultimate keynote this afternoon. Hello, Ricky, you are ultimate keynote this afternoon. Fadi takes the stage.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Roy, who's an Israeli, was ahead of me, so he took 5 minutes of mine, but it's okay. I'm joking. My name is Fadi Elsalameen. I'm Palestinian. I grew up in Hebron as the oldest of 9 children. We were a poor family, and I was lucky enough to get an education in the United States, excel, do well in business, do well in life. But the same values that I was raised with since I was a child in Hebron remain with me to this day and will remain with me until the day I die, which are, we're all human beings. And our common humanity is the most important thing. If we remember it, we win and prosper. And if we forget it, we lose and suffer. And nothing reminds me of this today than what is happening in Gaza. I want to read for you something. How many of you remember when you were 10 years old? You had dreams, you had thoughts, you had toys. I see a few people raising their hands. I just want to read to you a living will by a child, a Palestinian child, 10 years old. And there's a reason why I'm reading this. Her name is Russia, and she says, they found the living will, they found it under the rubble, and this is what she says. She says, "Please don't cry for me, as it would make me sad. I hope my clothes can go to those in need, and my accessories to Rahaf, Lana, and Batul. The bead boxes should go to Batul. As for my monthly allowance of 50 shekels, I want half to go to Rahaf and the other half to Ahmed. I'd like Batul to have my toys. Lastly, please don't shout at my brother Ahmed. Please follow these wishes." Russia had no idea that her 8-year-old brother Ahmed, whom she worried about and left a will for, was also killed alongside her. Their innocent lives were taken together. She was killed, her brother was killed, and thousands more were killed. And I'm sure you know the level of destruction that is happening. More than, if you look at any kind of statistics, more than 43,000 people killed in Gaza by a very brutal Israeli campaign. Majority of those killed are women and children. And I'm not here trying to just talk about Palestinians or Israelis, or I want you to look at this from a human perspective, because my heart aches for every single soul that is innocent, that is being forced to pay a price. And yet we are helpless. We can't do anything about it. But you are not helpless. We are not helpless, and this is why I'm here today. This is a photo of my friend Sultan Shaheen, and that is his son, Yahya. Sultan called me on October 20th of last year. And he literally, Sultan lives in Egypt, works in Egypt, but his son and his wife live in Gaza and work and have lived in Gaza since they were born. And he couldn't find work there, so he had to go to Egypt. And he has one son, Literally, it is the only reason why he says he lives. It is the only reason why he's willing to endure a hard life in Egypt to work and send some money, some support for his only son in Gaza. Sultan calls me on October 20th of last year, and he says, please, please, is there anything you can do? Is there anything you can do to help me? This guy is crazy, he's talking about Biden. This other guy is insane, talking about Netanyahu. Please, Fadi, is there anything you can do? And I thought it was just, a friend complaining about what is happening. 2 days later, I see on the news that Yahya, his mother, and 30 others from the same family were all killed in the same building which collapsed on them in Gaza by an Israeli strike. And I thought to myself, what do you say to someone who his only son, his only reason for living is gone? Then I thought, why is it that I can't do anything? Why is it that I feel helpless? Even though I've worked really hard in my life, I do have good relationships, friendships, I have enough resources to send or supposedly be able to share. And I realized for far too long, people like us have put too much trust in the wrong place. We trust banks with our money, yet we don't really have much control. We think we live in a free world, but we are voiceless. And I did what I know how to do best. I turned to Bitcoin. And I do have a long story with Bitcoin because I started a long anti-corruption campaign within the Palestinian territories against the Palestinian president because I believe that it is not fair for someone to stay in power for 20 years and steal the resources of people, be corrupt, and that they should be challenged. Exactly the same values that my grandfather taught me when I was a kid. So I started sending Bitcoin. I started sending Bitcoin to every person I know, whether they know how to use it or not, encouraging them to download wallets, and encouraging them to find the right people who will exchange it for them for USDT, even at a very high exchange rate. And the more demand became, the higher the exchange fee became. But I never thought in my life that, and I knew we had major issues with the financial system. We're, as a Palestinian economy, we do not have a central bank. We do not have a currency of our own. We're not allowed by agreements with Israel. We must use the Israeli currency. So what is worse than a central bank controlling your currency is another country's central bank controlling your currency. And that's the reality we live in. But I never thought that a day would come where I would witness no banks are existing anymore. Almost more than 63% of the existing infrastructure in Gaza is entirely destroyed. So even if you have a salary, even if you have supposedly cash in your bank account, you cannot go to a bank and take money out. It's not there anymore. It doesn't exist. 93% of schools are destroyed. Hospitals, 32 hospitals are gone. Ambulances, 114. So basically, life as you know it is not there anymore. The way people describe life in Gaza, they say it's like doomsday. It's like the last day on earth. You're walking in the streets, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know why you're even there. And so how do you reach out to people like this? How do you help? The only way that I've been able to do anything is Bitcoin. So, back to my friend Sultan, who really I worry about to this day. But the only way I could motivate him to feel that he still has a purpose in his life is to get him to start caring for those who are wounded, to start helping other families. while he's still in Egypt. And I was able to convince him to use Bitcoin. And now, literally, I don't even talk about any kind of other medium exchange. The only way we are doing things in Gaza, in Egypt, helping Palestinians who are crossing into Egypt, who are trying to survive in Gaza, the only way is through Bitcoin. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to realize that, and I know most of the day or the conference people talked about value and store value. It's beyond that. It's what values do we have as people, as human beings? What values do we carry and share? And what values do we want to pass on to our children? And how do we claim back the trust that we put in the wrong place, whether it's in governments or banks or institutions, and use them for the greater good of humanity worldwide? I ache when I see a child cry or get killed regardless of geography, whether it's in China or Russia or Iran or Europe or Ukraine or Israel or Palestine. I want to pass this on to my children, and I want to pass on this to the greater humanity. Bitcoin is a currency, it is money, but it comes also with a responsibility, which is if you do want to stand up for what is wrong in this world, and you do believe that you have a role to play in correcting the injustice that is happening, and I know we watch it, I know we see it on our phones, but we either ignore it or we put it in the back of our heads or we scroll the phone, move on to something else. Don't think that this will not catch up to us. It will. My children sometimes make fun of me or they question me, and it's okay, they're kids. They say, Dad, why do you go and have lunch with the homeless guy in the neighborhood? Why do you spend time with him? And I explain to them, that man, if he's hungry, what will he do? He's going to look for food, right? He might break into a house. And if he's breaking into somebody's house, somebody will stand up to him, right? He might kill someone. He might cause violence. Something could happen, right? But if I could spend 10 minutes, get to know his story, and do the right thing and walk my way and he walks that way, then at least I feel I've done my part. I want this to be at the forefront, at the center of every person I deal with who is working on Bitcoin, who's dealing with Bitcoin. And I'm saying this to the developers in the crowd, to the traders, to everyone who's investing time and energy and money in Bitcoin. We are a good force bringing people together for a better future, for a better tomorrow, for a greater cause. And I want to leave you with that message, the same message that I started with. It is our common humanity. If we remember it, we win and prosper. And if we lose it, we lose. And if we forget it, we lose and suffer. And that's it. Thank you so much. And I hope